We've all been there, we've all met them, complainers. People that complain about everyone and everything, and especially the systems that surround us every day and everywhere. For instance, companies, governments, and other people, of course. What to do about this and how to view complaints that people often do, because complaints are very sticky, so to speak. They are infectious. You can easily start to start to complain yourself, and we want to avoid this. So I will share a few thoughts on complaints and how to view this instead, those issues that we face every day, those small inefficiencies that we face at work or in other systems that we meet. In my experience, it's often far more complex than meets the eye at first. For instance, if there's an imperfection in a system, we want to change it to improve it, but sometimes it costs more to improve it than the imperfection itself is costing the company or is costing the system or us. So my take on this is to accept small imperfections and incomplete solutions and run with them instead of fighting against windmills, instead of fighting against those imperfections all the time. I'm a strong believer in the Pareto Principle, that 80% of results come from 20% of work and the other way around. So 20% of work is basically taking you 80% of the way. Of course, those last 20% aren't always unimportant, but in some cases they are. In some cases you can just ignore them and the system will run just fine without them, and you just have to accept that some things aren't perfect. There's a trap to optimization because there's a cost to optimization. If you want to optimize those last 20%, you need to invest 80% of resources oftentimes. So you have to carefully think about when diminishing returns start to kick in. So when is further optimization of a certain system not yielding any further results, or not when it's not worth anymore to invest more money, resources, or time into it. So sometimes optimization of systems goes so far that it drains all resources until the system itself disassembles. If you think of a company, of a typical company or a state, you can, of course, try to optimize every rule there is, optimize every process that there is in this company. But if you try to write down every single process that you have in a company, it will take forever, because you don't even know them. You have to find them. You have to write them down. You need a system to optimize or to automate it. And then you're going to spend years on optimizing processes, which don't really help the customer that you're serving, your company is serving in any way. So you won't earn any money with this. On the other hand, people are often creative, people are flexible. So if you have one smart salesperson, maybe he doesn't need any documented systems or any digital systems. He can do everything on paper still and is selling a lot of your product without any automation or any system. So of course this is inefficient maybe. It's maybe imperfect, but it yields results. So this is the important distinction. Where will optimization or further optimization help you yield more results, and where won't it? Because as an employee, many employees don't have this mindset of this has to be worth it, so to speak, in a company sense. This investment has to pay off. It has to pay off the investment, the initial cost. One more trap that especially engineers like me often fall into is the automation trap. We want to automate everything. We want to find something that we have to do by hand that is maybe annoying us, and we want to automate it. But if you think of it from a business perspective, from an entrepreneurial perspective, if you spend 1 week, maybe 40 hours, to optimize a process that takes you usually 10 minutes or 15 minutes, even if it's annoying, how long do you have to work with this new system until it's actually worth investing this? And every time when you create an automation, you're not only creating costs now when creating this automation, you also need to maintain it, you need to document it, you need to update it eventually when the process change. So you can't really be sure that it's going to pay off eventually. It depends on the system. That's why we have certain software systems that are established, because they usually pay off their price, their investment. Even if they're expensive, they're often worth it. But not every system or every thing should be automated. When I went through training for test automation, our trainer said, if you automate a crap process, then you have an automated crap process. So it doesn't change what's underneath. So if the process itself is not good, then you just automate a bad process to begin with, and you could spend your time elsewhere better. And the last thing I want to point out is, if you try to optimize everything, especially if you want to optimize everything from the beginning. So some people like to plan a lot. They like to think up a system, me including. I like to think out, for instance, a planning system for my weeks. And I try to schedule every single hour of the week and every single minute down to 10, 15 minutes when I go to the gym, when I go to eat, and stuff like this. But in the end, I have a lot of wrong assumptions about myself and my schedule. The reality is often messy, and it will get thrown over a lot of times. And some of my assumptions, for instance, about the amount of time I have in a day, the amount of time that eating or going to the gym takes, may be wrong. So it doesn't matter if I try to optimize it now, starting from wrong assumptions. Instead, I should make a rough sketch, make a plan, and go do things and figure out or get feedback as fast as possible to get in the reps, to get in correct information and to correct my assumptions. So this is the advantage of fast implementation. You get real feedback quicker, and you get a rough estimate of if your system that you're thinking up is working at all or not. So lastly, like I already mentioned, life and our surroundings are constantly changing. They are constantly evolving. So those complex systems are never perfect. There are always things that work against each other. There are always things that aren't fully fleshed out or fully thought through. The same goes for governments and for other stuff. It's always imperfect, but it often serves a certain purpose. And if it's reaching this purpose, if it's serving the customer, if it's serving the citizens, then it's worth to just go with the system until something better appears, maybe. So instead of investing unnecessarily big amounts of time, energy, and resources to optimize stuff that don't need to be optimized, let's just save those resources and pour them into tangible process. Let me know what you think about this, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you see optimization as worth it, or if you think you shouldn't optimize too much, and which experiences you have at work with this. I will gladly read your comments and answer them if I can.